My next guest has got a bit of a homecoming and coming up here this Saturday. UFC Atlanta is going to be taking on Kris Moutinho. Happy to be joined, as always, by Malcolm Wellmaker here on the program. Malcolm, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. You know, it's fight week. Just happy as I can be that the fight came together and that I will be competing in Atlanta.
Yeah, how worried were you weren't going to get on this card? Because we're cutting it close with this fight announcement.
Worried is not the word, man. I didn't think it was gonna happen. My management was, assuring me that they had confidence in Sean Shelby making it happen. It was getting super close down to the wire. So I'm not gonna say I lost faith, but I wasn't super hopeful. So when it came together, man, it was a big surprise.
Were there any other opponents in the mix, or did they only offer you Kris? Take me through that process.
Yeah, to be honest, I know there were some different opponents for sure. I know one of them definitely got injured. Another one said that the date just didn't work for him. And there were some other names that, it just didn't need to make it as far as me, other than the fact that it just didn't work out. So I know there were other names, but yeah, man, none of them happened except for Kris.
Yeah. I know you're good buddies with Dan Levy. I follow him on Twitter. Dan seemed to make it seem like there were a number of notable fighters that turned down fights with you. Don't need to mention any names here, but how surprising is that to a certain degree, just because you're in the UFC now? I'm sure you experience this a lot in the regional scene. Surprise you a bit that it's happened in the UFC as well?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, with all things taken into consideration, it was an incredibly quick turnaround that we were asking for. I mean, at most you'd have 6 weeks, and that's if you would have accepted immediately after Kansas City. So I get the skepticism. I understand people take their careers seriously. So I try to be as understanding as I can instead of be, that guy that just goes around calling everybody soft.
Yeah, fair enough. And how familiar were you with Kris? Like, I know you're a fan of the sport as well. I'm sure you watched his first UFC run. Did you probably knew about him a little bit before taking this fight?
Yeah, man, I was very familiar with Kris. I watched him fight Sean O'Malley live. I remember seeing the clip of him getting an ice cream sandwich afterwards, man. Just seeming like a nice guy, a guy that came in and fought his heart out on very short notice. Nothing but respect for the guy, and I would almost consider myself a fan of him back when I saw him have his UFC run. So when his name came across, I knew exactly who he was.
Yeah, what do you make of the resilience from his end? Just the fact that he got cut the first time. It's really hard to get back in the UFC, and now he's racked up, I think it was 6 wins, a lot of really impressive performances over there in Cage Titans. Like, I know you're always respectful to your opponents as well, but that's pretty impressive that he was able to sort of persevere and get back in there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He never lost his hope. He never lost that fire. He went to the regional scene. He rattled off a bunch of finishes, and he waited for his opportunity. And when it came, it wasn't an easy one. It was my name on very short notice, and he took it. So absolutely nothing but respect for the guy.
This looks like 2 strikers going at it. Am I missing anything? How do you sort of see this fight stylistically?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's 2 strikers, and a up-and-coming prospect having the same test that a previous huge prospect, huge name had as well. So I love the opportunity in front of me, and it's a canvas to put on a great show for the crowd.
And you got to like the opponent as well. Like it's going to be a potential fight of the night regardless. I know you're looking to probably end it a bit earlier than that, but still, like, that's got to excite you. The fact that it's not like you're getting just some wrestler or some submission guy. You're getting someone that potentially could make this a really interesting fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There was different matchups I got wind of that I wasn't the most excited for,
right.
Because I knew it was going to be so much more to it. It was going to be so much more of a technical fight, and the crowds don't always love that. But when Kris Moutinho came through, bro, it's a dream come true. I'm excited to go back and watch it because it's going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, for sure. And then as far as camp, anything different? Who did you work with for this camp? Who helped you get ready for this one?
Yeah, pretty much everybody that's been involved in my camps before have been involved in this one as well. The only difference is I've taken some of those coaches and implemented some private sessions with the time I have available now, and we've worked on things particular to me. Instead of, the general class setting, it's one-on-one time, particular skill development, and I've been working with the coaches out there at the Performance Institute on my strength and conditioning. Oh, yeah, so I'm another level right now, man.
Well, I was going to say the big thing, obviously, that everyone knows is that you quit your job and now you can do this full time. How much of a difference has that made? I know that it was a bit of short notice, but I'm sure you're noticing the fruits of the labor of having this much extra time to train.
Man, just the amount of stress I don't have to deal with physically or mentally, dragging myself from my 9 to 5 into the gym at the end of the night, no matter how exhausted I was, I had to really just push through and force myself to put in the work. But now, I wake up usually well rested, much more than I was. And I'm looking forward to going to the gym and giving it my all, leveling up. It's just such a fulfilling and complete experience now as a full-time athlete.
And does that make the weight cut easier too? Because you probably have more time to like prep meals or get meals and all that. Like, how's all that going? Because obviously that's the one battle as well. You got to make 135.
Yeah, to be honest, the weight cut I would say is probably about the same. I maintained my weight like I was supposed to, just in case the fight happened.
Right. Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff I learned my last camp with dealing with the nutrition team for the Performance Institute. So I think this cut's gonna be a lot easier just by having more resources and the knowledge I took from my last cut.
Your corner, who's going to be in the cage with you for this fight?
Same guys as always, man. It's gonna be my brothers, Jake and Joel Fagler, and then Pops.
There we go. And I don't think this is hitting the scorecards. How's this one going down this Saturday?
Yeah, honestly, it's funny because that's the biggest question. I think everybody is asking, am I gonna get him out of there early? And come on, man, you know me. My plan 100% is end it early, don't need the judges, and get us another bonus. So definitely, I'm looking for something early in the night.
A lot of stuff going on in your division. We got to start at the top. Merab Dvalishvili getting it done last weekend. What did you think of that performance? He was even more dominant in the second fight than the first fight, finishing O'Malley in that one.
Yeah, honestly, before the fight, I actually picked him to win, but I thought it was going to be closer than the last fight. And boy, did he prove me wrong. I knew Sean O'Malley was going to come in looking different, but I didn't expect to see a different Merab, and we did, man. I don't know what he went back to his camp and changed, or if he changed anything, or if he just wanted to make a different statement. But man, he absolutely impressed me. And if I didn't already have respect for him, I have even more now.
Love it. And then got to ask this as well, because everyone's been talking about it also in your division. What did you think of Patchy Mix and Mario Batista? Obviously, a lot of expectation for Patchy. Didn't really go that way. And full marks to Mario Batista, by the way, because he looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, man. I still had respect for Mario Batista even after the Jose Aldo fight. I respect Jose Aldo as much as Mario Batista probably did. And if you do, you go in there, you don't want to get your head knocked off. So I only respected what he did, and I didn't take away from the athlete I thought he was based off that performance. And I think that's what a lot of people did. And honestly, to be real, man, especially now that I'm in the UFC, I buy into the narrative that the UFC is the biggest and best organization in the world. And when people come over, most of them do have a hard time translating those performances. So I was definitely disappointed in Patchy Mix and his ability to show what he can do on that stage. Still respect him, of course. I still think he's really, really good, one of the best in the world. But Mario Batista is a top-ranked, bantamweight for a reason in the biggest organization. And I think he showed it.
Back to the Saturday quickly. How many people are hitting you up for tickets and you're like, I don't have any?
Oh man, I know I put on a good performance in my last one, but this is me telling everybody I ain't did enough to get no free tickets. Yeah. So it's been a ton. And they understand when I break it down to them and tell them how this stuff works, because I understand thinking I'm a star, it's the hometown show, maybe I can pull a little bit, but me and Dana ain't hung out enough for me to get that kind of pull. So yeah, man.
No, for sure. Like, they just announced the UFC's going to Vancouver. That's where I live. I had people hitting me up being like, can you get me tickets? I'm like, I'm not even a fighter. Goodness. Like, crazy, man. Like, people just want the hookups. And I get it. Tickets are pricey, right? It's not cheap.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
Kind of on that note as well, like this is huge. Like, this is like your Super Bowl in a way, other than maybe fighting for the title, but getting to fight in Atlanta, you're going to have friends and family there. How do you take all this in without it being too much pressure? Because I know, again, that like you want to enjoy the moment, but also you don't want it to sort of overwhelm you as well too.
Yeah, man. I like to think I'm pretty good at handling pressure. I think about the last fight I went into in Kansas City. I didn't get to walk into the cage or even look at the arena before I went in. So that was my first time seeing it. When I walked out, the cameras, the lights, the crowd screaming for me when I thought it was going to be no noise. Bruce Buffer being there, I didn't even know he was going to be there. Like, there were all these curveballs that I feel like could potentially, throw somebody off of their game with it being their first time experiencing it. And honestly, man, it just made me rise to the occasion. So I feel like with this same scenario, it's going to be the most hometown people I'm going to have at a UFC show probably for a while. A lot of the crowd's going to be going crazy for me. It's going to be so much going for me in my favor for that night. But when that bell rings, I'm focused on the task at hand, and that's putting on the best performance I can.
Where does a win, especially a finish over Kris, put you in the grand scheme of things? And do you want to fight again this year? I imagine you do.
Yeah, man. I think a finish over Kris will bring some comparisons between me and Sean O'Malley, and I welcome them. You know what I mean? That's if my name gets put in the conversation with him, it's a good day. So that's what I'm looking for, going to show that I can do something that Sean O'Malley did and do it in even more devastating fashion. And I absolutely want to compete again before the end of the year. And depending on how that fight goes, depending on, how the cards stack, what matchups make sense, I'll compete more than once if I can.
Malcolm, you're the best. Thanks for doing this, especially during fight week, man. This is a big one. So if there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to mention, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, man. Thank you to everybody in my camp, all my teammates, all my coaches, Backyard Bullies Wrestling Club. They've been helping so much. CJ with the grappling. Grizzly Fight Co, man, helped me put together this merch drop on such short notice. We made it happen. Those things are going out. Yeah, man. Thank you to all y'all. Goals Gym. Y'all do so much for me. And this Saturday is showtime, baby.